Over the past 2 months, I have been traveling in a beautiful place. I have been fortunate enough to have saved enough money and been able to come to one of the most beautiful places in the world during its prime season, and that is New Zealand. I've been backpacking here for the past 2 months, meeting a lot of amazing people, filming a lot of cool videos, writing songs, doing a lot of things that I'm really passionate about. But the one thing that has caught up to me that never really was a problem when I was back home was my addiction to social media. Now, I used to be extremely addicted to social media. From the age of 12 to about 15, I was spending close to 9 hours on my phone every single day, and it was brutal. I was addicted to Instagram and YouTube mainly. I never had Snapchat or really TikTok for that matter, but I was still addicted to my phone. Now, the thing that's been happening in New Zealand, at least when I first got here, I found myself spending a lot more time on social media, and I hadn't really had any social media for the past 2 years, for the past 2.5 years, since I'd really gotten onto self-improvement and really started prioritizing my mental health. And what had happened was I downloaded it just to keep in touch with my friends because I didn't want to be calling them through my phone, so I didn't have international charges. So I'll message them and call them on Instagram. But what ended up happening with having Instagram on my phone, I'd go to check to see if I had messages from my friends, and then I'd scroll for a couple minutes, delete, get off the app, and say I wasn't going to scroll again. Then the next day I go check for messages, scroll, and this just kept happening and happening. And still I find myself going to check for messages and sometimes still getting caught scrolling for a while. And it's something that is very strange because in one of the most beautiful places in the world, I'm spending more time on my phone now than I was back home. And the sole reason for that I have noticed is because I feel, at least at first, was because I felt uncomfortable and I felt lonely because I was in this new place and I wanted to feel that connection to social connection. So I would go back on my phone, check social media to see if I had messages from my friend back home, just because I felt lonely here. And that is the reason why a lot of people get caught up in having an addiction to their phone. It's simply used as a vice to help us distract ourselves from the reality and the things that are happening around us, because at least for me in my personal experience, when I was really insecure in middle school and the start of high school, when I didn't have a lot of friends, social media was what I used to kind of just cope with that, and not cope in a good way. It's replacing our desire to go and feel and get social connection with something that's much easier and something that we don't have to work hard for it. It's uncomfortable to go and talk to a new group of people that we never talked to before, especially when we're kind of insecure, but it's so much easier to just go on our phone for a couple minutes and feel like we actually have connection because we see we have followers and stuff. But it doesn't address the root of the problem, and this is where a lot of people get caught up in having an addiction to their phone. And the root problem for a lot of us is because we're lonely and we get caught up in these apps like Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok because they're literally meant to be addictive. They only make money from having people on their platform for as long as they possibly can, and that's what exactly they're designed for. But your phone addiction and my phone addiction are not the fault of these social media apps. They're our fault. We have to accept responsibility for that. And if you want to learn how to break your phone addiction, you have to accept responsibility for that. Your phone isn't ruining your life. You are ruining your life through using your phone in the way that you are. See, our phones are amazing creations. They allow us to talk to people all over the world, make money on the internet, do amazing things, film this video on my phone, and there's just so many amazing things that we can do. Same with social media. As a marketing tool, it's amazing. It's amazing to reach that many people. And if you have positive messages, you're watching this video through social media right now. YouTube is still a social media. But the thing is, the way we use it has been destructive for pretty much our entire generation because we get distracted from our work. It destroys our creativity because we can't focus on what we're trying to do. Our attention spans are the worst that they have ever been. We have kids who are literally not even a year old yet just watching shows on a phone, and I can't imagine the repercussions that this is going to have in the future. But as a generation, it is up to us to take responsibility for this and learn how to do it. And the way to break your phone addiction and to stop being a slave to it is not to get a dumb phone. Like I've heard some people get a phone that's not a smartphone. It's to address the root of the problem. Why are you going on these apps for social media? For me, it's because I feel lonely and want to have some form of social connection and some feeling that I feel important just because I feel a little bit lonely or bored. And that's why we go on the apps. You need to identify your trigger. What is your reason for going on these apps? Because deleting the app is not just enough. Deleting social media is a good start, but you can always just re-download the app. You can get a blocker for certain websites on your computer, but then you can always just uninstall it. That's not going to be a way to combat it. And the first thing you need to do, like I said, is to identify your trigger. What is your reason for going on these apps? And once you have identified that, you can start to take the steps to combat that and put systems in place so that you're not using it in these ways that are becoming a detriment to your life. Because social media is not the problem. Like I said, we are the problem. It's the way we use it. And to be so much more free and to enjoy life, for me at least, there's not really much of a balance between social media, like scrolling on social media, and living a fulfilled life. It's either I cut it all out and have an amazing life, or I scroll on social media and I feel like garbage all the time, because that's just the way I am. I've never been someone it's easy to balance things. When I do something, I love to go all in. And I just find on days where I never scroll or never touch social media, I just feel amazing. Like, I unfortunately spent a little bit of time on YouTube when I was like actually watching like productive videos and learning about stuff, that I spent some time scrolling on shorts, and the detriment that had to just like those, like an hour after that, I just felt like my brain was foggy and I just didn't feel like I had a very strong sense of pride in myself. I felt guilty for doing something, not that I know, well, that I know I shouldn't, and just feel like I was just wasting time and frying my brain. And to overcome this, I found, so let's back up a little bit. I kind of went on a side tangent there, but identify your trigger. What is the reason for going on these apps? So for me, it's wanting to feel that sense of loneliness, or not wanting to feel that sense of loneliness. And when I do go on the app to check messages and then end up scrolling for a little while. And the thing is, if you can identify that, and then once that starts to pop up in your mind and you feel that craving and that urge to go on your phone or check it, once you feel that and you've identified that, it's then that you can actually stop yourself. And there's a couple different ways that you can get into doing that. And the best way I've really found is just have someone to hold you accountable. For me, I've just talked to one of my friends about this specific topic, and just being able to check in with him about certain things and how much time we've been spending on these apps. And it's just been helpful to know that I have to message someone about how much time I've spent on that, and just even having that conversation has been really helpful. But just having someone to hold you accountable, and once you've talked your triggers through with someone or a couple different people, then you can start to identify what it's actually causing you to do and why you're going on that app. And now for me, in being in a different country and just kind of feeling that sense of loneliness, when I feel that urge to go back on Instagram, all I can simply do is what I've started to do, and what has really started to actually work, is just identifying that trigger and then just thinking of memories that I've had with my friends, and really not just trying to feel that sense of loneliness, but just accepting what it is for what it actually is. It's just a moment of feeling homesick and feeling like I miss home and miss people from my past and people who I've had amazing experiences with that are not necessarily no longer in my life, but just aren't here at this certain moment. And that's part of life. A feeling is only going to last so long. This is the thing with discipline, and the thing with a lot of different things in life, that we can feel that urge and feel that either reluctancy to start doing something, or that craving to do something. But the thing is, if we can just sit with that feeling for a little bit longer, then it eventually passes. It's like getting out and going for a run. Those first 5 minutes and getting out the door may suck, but once you're into that run, if you're actually like, you kind of enjoy running, once you're into it, it's actually an enjoyable experience. But those first 5 minutes, it does feel hard, and you have to be disciplined for those first 5 minutes. But after that, you're just into it and you're in the flow with it. It's the same with staying off your phone. It's hard to fight those initial cravings, and trust me, it takes some time, and you will relapse, and you'll switch, what's the right word? You'll slip up on your streaks, like 3 days off social media. That's the other thing. Don't try and keep a streak, because it's that's the wrong way to go about thinking about trying to keep away from these things, because a streak doesn't mean anything if you're not actually seeing the benefits. It doesn't matter if you've been on social media for 5 minutes or 5 days, as long as you're trying to do better and as long as you're trying to push yourself forward and combat this addiction, which is what it is. A lot of people don't think that we're addicted to our phones, but in reality it's an addiction, because I've heard a lot of people who have had drug addictions in the past and try and quit social media that they feel similar withdrawals to it. And it's kind of sad to think that so many people in our generation have fallen victim to this and are trying to quit, but just simply can't find themselves to do it. And it's going to be an ongoing struggle. I can't solve the problem with this one video, but the more people and the more people who hear this message and start to take the steps, the more we can start to achieve a balance with social media and the mental health of our generation and just our generation going and moving forward in the future. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed. Never stop creating, my friend, and I will see you in the next one.